Two brothers from the east side of Chicago turned the streets into a graveyard and the internet into their personal war zone. KTS Von and KTS Dre didn't just live the life. They became the nightmare every ops prayed never to see. Feared, ruthless, unstoppable, until the streets took them both. From honor roll student to alleged body collector, from big brother to cold-blooded killer. Their rise was lightning fast. Their fall was brutal, public, and final. But even in death, their names still shake Chicago. Now, years later, a new generation is asking the same question the block never answered. Who really put Von and Dre in the ground? And why does their story still feel unfinished? This is not just another Chicago drill tale. This is the complete and censored saga of two brothers who terrorized the East Side, left a trail of bodies, and paid the ultimate price. How did two young killers become legends? Who was really behind their deaths? And what happened to the empire they built with blood? To understand how two brothers went from the cradle to the grave as Chicago's most feared duo, we have to go back to the blocks where it all began, not with the guns, not with the bodies, but with the blocks that raised them. KTS Von and KTS Dre were born just 3 years apart in the heart of Chicago's East Side. Dre Landra Sylvester, later known as Cutthroat Dreco, touched down in 1990. His younger brother, Von Devin Davis, better known as Big Cutthroat the Smoker, arrived in 1993. Same mother, Lana. Different fathers. They grew up thick as thieves on 88th and Manasty alongside their siblings, Little Vinny, KJ, Jeff, Big Earl, India, and Big Ree. Unlike many kids lost in the trenches, Von and Dre actually had both parents present in the early years. Von's father, Big Vinny, was a respected Vice Lord OG from EBC who moved heavyweight. He acted as a stepfather to Dre, raising him like his own. Dre's biological father, Chidetown Jeff, was a high-ranking gangster disciple from Lakeside. The family tree ran deep. The brothers were even blood cousins with the infamous Zicko from 051 Young Money. KTS stands for Kill to Survive, and no one embodied that motto harder than the Sylvester Davis brothers. KTS Dre, born Landre Sylvester, was the older, more calculated one. His younger brother, KTS Von, Devin Davis, was the explosive, fearless talent who brought that demonic energy to the mic. Same mother, different fathers. A common story in the east side of Chicago where broken homes and street life often raised the kids more than parents did. Growing up in the early 2000s on Chicago's east side was brutal. The area around Pockettown and Lakeside was a war zone long before drill music gave it a soundtrack. Violence was normal. Survival meant picking a side early. Both brothers jumped off the porch young. While other kids were playing ball or going to school, Dre and Von were learning the code of the streets: loyalty, revenge, and never lacking. They came up in a faction that eventually formed under the KTS umbrella, uniting pockets of gangster disciples with a kill or be killed mentality. By the late 2000s, the drill scene was exploding. Chief Keef, Lil Durk, and others were putting Chicago on the map, but the east side had its own wave coming. KTS Von's voice was different, dark, cold, and haunting. His lyrics weren't just flexing, they were threats wrapped in melody. Tracks like Kill to Survive with his brother Dre became street anthems. The chemistry between the brothers was undeniable. Dre, being older, moved more strategic. He handled business while Von brought the raw star power. KTS as a crew didn't form overnight. It was built from alliances between Lakeside, Pockettown, and E-Block factions. What started as block protection turned into one of the most aggressive crews the city had seen. They weren't the biggest set, but they were among the most active. Their reputation for not backing down from anyone, even larger ops like NLMB, No Limit Muskegon Boys, made them stand out. While others talked, KTS moved. Von's rise was meteoric. His No Lacking videos, where he and his crew would pull up on ops blocks with guns out, went viral even before viral was normal. The internet ate it up. The music and the street activity fed each other. Every new body dropped made their songs hit harder. Dre was right there with him, older but just as active. Together they created a nightmare for their rivals. But behind the violent image was a family that was slowly being torn apart. Personal losses started piling up early. Friends, cousins, close homies. Every funeral fueled the next war. The brothers leaned on each other. Dre tried to guide Von, but the streets were pulling both of them deeper. By 2013 to 2014, KTS Von was already a name that made people nervous. Ops knew if you had a problem with one brother, you had a problem with both. The current legacy in 2026 is complicated. Some call them legends who kept it real. Others say they helped glorify a cycle that destroyed their own community. Their music still plays in cars across the city. Young drill artists still sample their flows and throw subliminals in their honor. The East Side hasn't forgotten. KTS flags still wave at parties and in the trenches. Yet their story is a warning as much as it is a celebration. Two brothers who rose from nothing, became the most feared names in their section, and set a standard of violence that few could match. But every peak has a valley, and for KTS Von and KTS Dre, the fall would be as bloody as their rise. As the 2010s kicked in, KTS Von and KTS Dre went from local block stars to citywide nightmares. The East Side was already boiling with tension, but these two brothers turned it into an all-out war. Between 2010 and 2015, KTS reached its deadliest peak. The body count rose, the diss tracks got colder, and their reputation as Chicago's most feared brothers became undisputed. It started with the formation of stronger alliances. KTS wasn't just a name anymore. It became a movement connecting Lakeside, Pocketown, and other East Side GD factions. Dre, being the older brother, played a key role in organizing while Von became the face. Von's music was pure menace. Songs like Kill to Survive with Dre weren't just tracks, they were declarations of war. The lyrics named ops, celebrated violence, and promised smoke to anyone who dared step on their turf. This era saw an explosion of no-lacking videos. Von and his crew would pull up on rival blocks, guns drawn, screaming KTS. These videos spread like wildfire on WorldStar and early YouTube. One particular incident involving a young rival member made national noise and put a permanent target on Von's back. The disrespect was too much for the ops, especially NLMB, a much larger and powerful set from the other side. What began as block beef turned deeply personal. KTS became known for their relentless aggression. While other crews might slide once and lay low, KTS kept applying pressure. Major drills and bodies started stacking up. The brothers and their close circle were linked to multiple incidents that rocked the city. Rivals from NLMB, Drill City, and other sets felt the heat. Every time an op posted a victory, KTS responded with action. This back and forth created one of the most violent chapters in Chicago's drill history. Von's talent was undeniable. Even while living that life, he had charisma on the mic that separated him from others. Dre complemented him perfectly, more strategic, more calculated, but equally ruthless when it was time to ride. Together they created an aura of fear. People in the streets would say, "Don't play with them KTS niggas," with real seriousness. Their names alone could clear a party or make someone switch sides of the street. But the peak came with heavy personal costs. The brothers started losing people close to them: cousins, day one homies, and family members. Each loss made them colder. Instead of slowing down, the pain fueled more violence. Funerals became revenge missions. The cycle was vicious. Von survived multiple attempts on his life, including being shot before. He kept going, recording music even while recovering, showing that unbreakable KTS spirit. By 2014 to 2015, KTS Von was at the height of his influence. His music was getting millions of views. The streets respected and feared him. Dre was right beside him, holding the crew down. They had become the most active and talked about duo in their section. Ops were putting real money on their heads. The tension was at an all-time high. Then came June 23, 2015. KTS Von was standing outside an apartment on the 7500 block when a car pulled up. Gunshots rang out in a classic drive-by. Von was hit multiple times, including shots to the chest and head. At just 21 years old, the young demon who had terrorized the streets of Chicago was pronounced dead at the scene. The city felt it instantly. Social media exploded. Ops celebrated while KTS members swore revenge. The murder of KTS Von marked the beginning of the end of their peak, but it didn't stop the war. Dre, devastated by the loss of his younger brother, took it personal. He continued the fight with even more intensity. The retaliation was swift and brutal. The streets whispered that the shooter didn't live long after Von's death. This part of their story shows the true cost of that lifestyle. The brothers had risen to the top through sheer violence and determination, but the same violence that made them legends was now taking everything from them. The peak was bloody, loud, and unforgettable, but it was also the point where the fall became inevitable. As the city mourned, investigated, and moved on, one brother was gone and the other was left carrying the weight of KTS alone. The war didn't die with Von. If anything, it became more personal for Dre. The murder of KTS Von in June 2015 didn't end the KTS movement. It only made it more dangerous. KTS Dre, now carrying the full weight of his brother's legacy, refused to let the name die. The years following Von's death became the darkest and most chaotic chapter in their story. Dre was already in his mid-20s when Von was killed. The loss hit him harder than anything before. He channeled that pain into the streets and the mic. He kept dropping tracks paying tribute to his brother while dissing the ops who took him. The war with NLMB and other rivals intensified. Dre became even more active, determined to prove that KTS was still a force to be reckoned with. He took on the role of leader, making sure the crew stayed aggressive and loyal to Von's memory. But the streets were closing in. Police pressure increased. Legal cases started piling up against Dre and other KTS members. Gun charges, murder investigations, and gang-related lawsuits made it harder for them to move freely. Dre found himself in and out of jail, but every time he came home, he picked up right where he left off. The drill scene had evolved, but Dre's loyalty to the old ways never changed. He remained one of the most respected and feared voices from the East Side. The years between 2015 and 2021 were filled with tension, losses, and near misses. Dre lost more friends and family. Each death reminded him of Von. He kept the KTS flag high, but the weight was visible. In the music, his pain was raw. Tracks dedicated to his brother showed a man who was surviving, but barely. The streets still respected him, but many could see the end coming. Then came July 10, 2021. Dre had just bonded out of Cook County Jail. His fiancée had posted bail the day before. He was supposed to go on electronic monitoring and finally head home. Instead, as he walked out of the jail around 8:50 p.m. in the 2700 block of South California Avenue, a car pulled up. Two gunmen opened fire in a brazen ambush right outside one of the most secured areas in Chicago. Dre was hit with a staggering 64 bullets, an unthinkable amount of overkill. A 60-year-old woman with him was shot in the knee, and another woman suffered a graze wound. Dre was rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at just 31 years old. The killing sent shockwaves through Chicago. The sheer brutality, being shot dozens of times right after release from jail, became one of the most infamous deaths in the city's recent history. Many believed it was retaliation for years of violence, specifically tied to the ongoing KTS versus NLMB beef and the dissing of dead ops. To this day, no one has been charged for his murder. With both brothers gone, the KTS legacy entered its aftermath phase. Their deaths didn't stop the violence. If anything, it inspired a new generation. In 2026, young drill artists still sample their flows, throw up KTS signs, and tell stories about the brothers who put East Side on the map. Their old music continues to get millions of views. Memorial pages, documentaries, and fan edits keep their names alive. But their story is also a tragic mirror to Chicago's problems. Two brothers from a broken home who found purpose in the streets, rose through extreme violence, and died the same way they lived. Their legacy is complicated, celebrated by some as real ones who never folded, criticized by others for contributing to the cycle that destroys so many young black men in the city. The fall of KTS Von and KTS Dre shows how the streets give and take everything. They went from feared kings of their section to ghosts who left behind pain, music, and unanswered questions. Who really ordered the hits? How many more lives will this same beef claim? Why does Chicago keep losing its brightest, even if they were dangerous, to the same violence they helped create? The tragic rise and bloody fall of KTS Von and KTS Dre is more than just a street story. It's a warning about a cycle that has claimed thousands of young lives in Chicago. From jumping off the porch as kids to becoming the most feared brothers in the East Side, their journey was filled with pain, power, loyalty, and ultimately destruction. They lived by kill to survive and died by the same code. In 2026, their influence is still felt. Their music plays in cars, their names are tattooed on necks, and their story is told in new diss tracks. But behind the legends lies a simple truth: the streets don't love you back. No matter how feared you are, the violence eventually catches up. Their story matters because it forces us to look at the bigger picture: broken families, lack of opportunities, easy access to guns, and a culture that glorifies death until it hits home. Von at 21 and Dre at 31. Both gone too soon, both leaving families devastated. If you're watching this, understand that real life isn't a drill video. The pain you see in these stories is permanent. To the younger generation repping KTS or any set, think about the long game. The streets will take your brothers, your freedom, and eventually your life. What do you think about the KTS Von and KTS Dre story? Was their legacy worth the cost? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which part hit you the hardest? Their rise, their peak, or their brutal end? If you want more Chicago street stories, deep dives, or documentaries like this, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll keep bringing the raw, uncut truth from the trenches. Rest in peace, KTS Von and KTS Dre. Long live the memory, but may the cycle finally break.